Hello, my name is Donna Murphy. I am co-founder of Heaven's Gain, and I'm a certified baby loss doula. Being a loss doula was not my original plan for my life. I graduated from college with degrees in physical therapy and athletic training. And after working in a hospital in physical therapy for over 5 years, my husband and I were pleased to discover that we were expecting. With my great love for the human body and how it works, I intensely studied fetal development to share in the various aspects of my son's development each day. After my son's birth, I continued to study fetal development, and 5 years later, I began to travel around the tri-state area, speaking at colleges, high schools, and occasionally grade schools, teaching the incredible voyage of fetal development. When teaching, I would show beautiful pictures of how the baby develops in the womb and how incredible the gift of life is. I would present anatomically correct size baby models for my students to see and to touch. Since these models were the proper weight for the gestational age of the baby, the experience of holding and touching the models promoted learning through tactile sensation. In 1997, we experienced our first loss at 14 weeks, and were surprised to find out that our baby had died at 10 weeks. We do not have any pictures of our baby, but we do have these pictures of other babies to share with you. When I delivered our baby at home, our 10-week-old baby was born in the amniotic sac, floating in water, and that is where I thought he belonged, floating in water. After removing him from the sac and holding him for a couple of hours, I placed him in a small jar of water. It was incredible. I could see each of his little fingers and toes, his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. He floated beautifully in water, and my little 5-year-old girl told me, "Mommy, you make the prettiest babies." He looked beautiful, even though he had been probably dead for 4 weeks. In June of 2006, I was very familiar with the appearance of babies in the womb since I've been teaching fetal development for over 10 years. I found that our 17-week-old baby had died very recently. I thought I knew what to expect. I knew exactly what a baby looked like at 17 weeks. Just beautiful. I knew he would be small, and he was. He was only 8 inches long, head to toe. Even with all the pictures I had shared through my teaching, I was not prepared when my 17-week-old son was born. My baby did not look like the fetal development pictures I used to teach. He looked different because he was dead. The pictures I had shown were live babies. My baby was red, bright red, very bright red all over. His head was soft, and he had fluid surrounding it. His mouth gaped open as if he were screaming. Now I knew the physiological reasons for his appearance, but the heart of a mom inside of me could not let the intellectual side rationalize how he looked. Back then, I just wanted to see my baby look like those live fetal development pictures. I was already suffering. I was grieving the death of my child, and that was enough. But when he was born, his appearance was so much different than I expected. This was devastating and placed a huge additional trauma on me, besides the loss of my baby. Many parents have looked at the fetal development pictures and have an idea of what their child would look like in the womb. I believe prior to delivery, parents need to be told that the appearance of their baby may be different than they might expect. I think that explaining the possible redness of the skin and the fragile integrity of their baby's body as normal for this stage of pregnancy may prevent or at least lessen the shock of how their baby presents at birth. When we lost our baby at 17 weeks, we knew the proper place for him, if he were alive, would be inside the sac floating in amniotic fluid. To recreate the womb environment, we decided to place him in a saline solution. Unfortunately, all we had was a canning jar. We brought our own canning jar with us and placed him in a canning jar with saline fluid that the hospital had provided for us. In just a couple of hours, he transformed into the type of beautiful image I had seen in the fetal development photos. In 2008, my husband Jim and I started a ministry called Heaven's Gain to help those experiencing loss of a baby. Since then, we have worked with hundreds of clients as volunteers with a contracted staff of skilled wood casket makers and creative caring crafters. We at Heaven's Gain have developed a way to preserve babies with saline water inside of a clear plastic bottle, which we call saline submersion. Funeral directors have commended our efforts and agreed with us that saline submersion is a great way to preserve a small baby. It provides a mother a way of holding the baby without the stickiness or fragile integrity worries. We also provide a flannel cover for the bottle in an attempt to simulate the warm feel of a baby wrapped in a flannel blanket. Submerging the baby may feel like treating the baby as a specimen. Remind parents that their baby's natural state at this age is to be submerged in amniotic fluid. By using the saline submersion technique with the clear plastic bottle and saline solution, they are just returning their baby's body in a more natural environment for that stage of pregnancy. Parents seem to understand, although they may still choose not to use the bottle. Parents who choose to use the bottle are usually pleased to see the transformation. You can see in these comparison pictures that there is a huge transformation when using the bottle. Even if the baby is placed in the water for only a couple hours, the baby's appearance improves after being removed from the water again. This is our son in 3 states. Here's a picture of him when he was born. This is a picture of him in the bottle. You can see how he transformed. And this last picture is a picture of him after we took him out of the bottle to kiss him goodbye before we buried him. We put him back in the bottle and buried him in the bottle inside a casket. But you can see the transformation even after you take him back out of the bottle. Our bottles and caskets have now been used hundreds of times. I would like to share some pictures of babies in various stages of pregnancy. My clients have permitted us to share these pictures of their babies only for the intention of teaching others, and they are meant to be treated with the utmost respect. This is Toviel, whose picture I showed earlier. He's a beautiful baby in or out of the bottle. But the bottle does allow for flow between the fingers and toes and accentuates his features. After being amazed at how beautiful he was, his parents took these pictures with a home camera and sent them to me. Toviel was only 10 weeks old. This is Elisha. His mother found out when she was in her 17th week of pregnancy that he had died at 14 weeks. Her doctor explained her options. She chose to miscarry naturally at home. She consulted with me, and although I was not present at her delivery, I prepped her for what she might expect and kept in touch often by phone throughout her delivery day. Toviel was born in her 21st week of pregnancy. He is amazingly beautiful for being dead 7 weeks prior to delivery. She only took pictures in the bottle. Again, Alicia was only 14 weeks when he passed. I was the loss doula for my client Kim. I had been her advocate for previous losses and her loss doula for this loss. She was 21 to 22 weeks pregnant when she stopped feeling movement and went in for an ultrasound. Unfortunately, Jonah had died over the weekend, and her worst fears were confirmed. This picture was taken of him while he was inside a large bottle of saline water that we provided her. Jonah was red and not pink when he was born. The saline solution washes some of the redness away. The water lets the skull reform from its semi-collapsed state. The difference of in and out of the bottle are startling. She was so proud of the pictures in the bottle that she passed them out to friends. She's proud of her baby either way, but it is so much easier to say, "This is my son," and show some of the pictures of him in the bottle, rather than the pictures right after birth.
My name is Kim Kelly, and unfortunately, we have used Donna's services 4 times. I have a son. We lost Bryce in 2009, and he was 20 weeks gestation. We also lost our daughter Maria in 2010, and we chose not to use the bottle for those 2. We chose not to because, in our opinion at that time, we felt that it was too scientific. We felt that it was something you would see in a science lab, much like a specimen in a bottle. So we did not feel comfortable doing that. We then lost Gavin in 2011, and we wanted to hold him like we did the other 2, but unfortunately he was 17 weeks along, measuring more around 15 or 16 weeks. So his skin was very fragile. It did not take long for his little rib to even poke through his skin a little bit, and the integrity of his skin was very compromised just by holding him for a short period of time. We were introduced to the bottle again, the idea of the bottle, And we did choose to put him in the bottle just so we could hold him a little bit longer. I still was very skeptical of it at that point. I did not like the idea of doing it, but we decided that it was the only way we were going to be able to hold him any longer. So we did, and we were absolutely amazed by how beautiful he looked once he was in there. His little body plumped right up. His coloring was much better. We could count every little finger, every little toe. It was just amazing to be able to see him in his natural environment, as if he were in amniotic fluid. And it was a real treasure to be able to see him and hold him a little bit longer, even though his skin was very fragile. We then lost a son, Jonah, in 2013. And we lost him at 22 weeks. And his skin was not as fragile, but we did have such a good experience with Gavin in the bottle. We did want to see how Jonah would look in the bottle as well. So we did put Jonah in the bottle after we were done holding him outside of the bottle. And once we put him in, again, he was absolutely beautiful. He plumped out again, his skin plumped out again. Every little finger, every little toe, we just thought it was so beautiful. We loved taking pictures of him while he was in the bottle. We loved it so much that we decided to print out our favorite one and give it to everyone at his funeral service. And it was something that I was able to share with everyone. I didn't have to worry about it being offensive. I didn't have to worry about how he looked in the pictures. Everyone thought he was as beautiful as we did. And everyone thought it was a real treasure to be able to see him also. And we went from not believing in the bottle at all to really believing that it was an absolute blessing to have the bottles for both Gavin and Jonah.
Using the bottle and saline water is just another tool that you can use to help those who lose a baby in the late first or any time in the second trimester. As you've seen, it's also useful in taking pictures. Do not push the idea of baby submersion, but offering it can be a tool to help families grieve, find closure, and heal. Please understand that pregnancy loss at any point of pregnancy can be devastating. All mothers who lose a child do not grieve the same. Oftentimes, a pregnancy loss that is not in the third trimester is not taken as a serious reason for grief. Just because the baby was smaller does not mean that the parents only lost a hope or a dream. They lost more than hopes or dreams. They truly lost a baby. That baby is a unique individual that cannot be recreated ever, and they have the right to grieve that specific child. Understanding the trauma that coincides with loss and how to avoid these additional traumas are great tools in serving families who experience loss. Thank you for listening to this tape. For more information, I can be contacted at www.heavensgain.com or by phone at 513-607-6083. Thank you.